All right, I believe we're live. So here, I'm gonna go and look at our dashboard. Okay, video preview seems to be working, so that's good. Let's see, do I have anybody in chat right now? Don't, so I'm gonna hang out and chat for a little bit and see if somebody shows up in chat. For those watching this recording later on YouTube or later on Twitch, hey, I'm Pat Baer. This is Build with Baer Workshop, and we're going to work on a Shining Gundam, which I have started working on last week, and I ran into some problems, which I fixed off stream, and so I'm excited to get into it. I'm going to wait for at least a few people to show up in chat and see if chat becomes a thing. I'm writing hi chat into the chat. So I'm going to wait a moment, see if anybody shows up in the chat room, um, and then we can get going. I got a few people that just started following me here on Twitch, so that's fun. I'm looking at all of my sources here in OBS. They seem to be good. Volume seems to be good, but I'm waiting for confirmation from the chat. Right now, the chat is not many people, but we'll see what's up. See if we can get confirmation. Hey, chat, can you hear me? It's always very important to know before I start getting into the build if the chat can hear. So we'll see if that happens. We'll check on the chat in just a moment. Danny Abicki, you are a thing indeed. You can hear me just fine. Great. Thank you, Danny. Hopefully, a few more people will join the chat with you in a moment or two, and they'll be able to talk to you. I'm sure there are a few people that are watching that are not in the chat. Yes, because I have a couple of viewers here who are not in our chat room who are viewing, but not currently in the chat, which is totally fine. That's okay. I don't mind that at all. Why don't I switch over to this beautiful footage? Look, there's my hands. There's my hands. So we're on the Shining Gundam build once again. We are gonna keep going where we left off. So if you didn't watch last week's video, then you don't know that I ran into a problem immediately. I could not find a piece. It was a number that didn't seem to correlate to anything. I found it randomly. So I was able to work on the arms, which I had skipped during our build because I could not get to finish those. So I was able to finish those, and I got pretty far with those. We'll do more detailing. And then I went ahead, as you can see, I worked on the legs. Now, the reason I worked on these is because they involved screws. Master grade kits often involve screws, and I felt that doing those on stream would be bad because my ability to converse with a viewing audience, check chat, and build while dealing with very small screws, I felt like that would be a problem. So I didn't do it. Instead, I did it at home. But I skipped some steps to work on some outer layers of this Shining Gundam from G Gundam. So we'll be able to do those live here in just a moment or two. Yes, Matt Pasquale, the G Shining Gundam is a sweet robot, and we're going to make it even sweeter with just a few build pieces. So one thing, as I said, I skip steps. So what I like to do is, especially when I'm skipping steps, is I like to use my Sharpie and mark off things that I've done if I'm skipping a step. So we've done a lot of these. These are all set. We haven't worked on shoulders. So step 4 in the book, we'll do that. Step 4 in the book, I haven't done yet. And I haven't done step 5, and I haven't done step 6. So those are steps that I can do now. And I know that because I marked down the ones that I've done. So I skipped to all the leg pieces. I've done all these leg spots. I've done all of this, but I haven't done some of the finishing on the leg unit. So I know that going ahead, what I've worked on and what I have, which is very helpful when you have time in between. I did this work on Saturday, some of this work off stream. So now I can go back to step 4, and I can start working on more for the shoulder pieces. If you hear, look at this new camera. I have a new camera that I'm working with. I'm not using my webcam uh, on my laptop for my camera of me. I have a second. I have 3 webcams right now. I have identical webcams, that one of which is here in the workspace, one of which is my face. I have invested now in a secondary camera for that. And my third webcam, which is built in the laptop and not great, is for emergencies, or if I had a guest, I could make use of that so that my guest didn't have to sit right next to me. I'm planning for the future because I want to keep doing these builds and doing builds for audiences. So I put a little money into equipment that would help for that, and I can use for other things as well. Okay, so like I said, we're going to go back in time a little bit. We're going to work on some shoulder pieces. We're going to use some pieces that I love, the PC pieces, these plastic pieces, these rubber, I should say, pieces. So this kind of equipment you use a lot in the HG grade kits, the high grade instead of the master grade. This is the master grade kit. The high grade kits use these a lot for joints, and I'm very much used to working with. If you watch my first stream, I have these clippers to make my life a lot easier, so I can get the pieces I need very quickly. So I'm going to be doing this twice. So I will be doing those very quickly here. We'll do that. And that's great. Mounts, the shoulder blades, we call them. I don't know. I don't have a good name for it. So we'll go over here. I'm starting as you do a kit. At least I do. I start to get a sense of what the pieces are as soon as I start looking at them. As I'm going through the different sheets, I can start to get a better idea of what pieces I'm going to be grabbing. So that's B. I know that. So that means that red is C, and so that is D is gold pieces. Now, I did say that if was really up on my show, which I'll admit, I'm not as much as I used to be. I haven't watched G Gundam in quite some time. Then I would know these pieces pretty well because I would have a better visual understanding of the Gundam. And I don't have that because I have not watched the show in quite some time. A friend of mine on Twitter just recently asked about this series and if it was worth watching. And I said yes with caveats. I believe I mentioned that in our live stream last week, that the show is very fun, but in attempting to visually represent foreign countries, it takes a lot of shortcuts, i.e. stereotypes. And so I don't think it necessarily holds up as a proper show in this modern era. So I would recommend it with caveats. I think the main characters are really interesting. I think some of the ideas, like I said last week, there's a guy who has a Gundam, and his real horse, has a horse unicorn Gundam. So while he has that horse, he's inside a Gundam riding a horse. And that's great. Like, there's no way around it. That's just great. That's stupid. And nothing of the sort opposing that being stupid and great. So one shoulder done, we're going to do the other shoulder, and we're going to build up. This is very simple. This is nice easy part here. I can do this while talking very easily. Right now on my clips, I'm doing pretty. I'm not being as careful, I guess, as I could be, but I'm not worried about any breakage at this point. And I have my little sanding piece there in case I need to do any fine-tuned sanding. Horse Gundam is better than football. Yes, the football / boxing / cowboy Gundam, the America Gundam, is pretty terrible / comical. Um, I would say G Gundam is some of the better, and by better I mean more outlandish, more out there designs of any Gundam series. There are obviously different examples. Every Gundam show has its one weird Gundam. But I said Gundam so many times right. The mainstream shows often attempt to top one another by just putting more weapons on your main character design and being like, well, this Gundam that's just like every other Gundam show is different because it features 30 weapons instead of 27 or something to that effect. Um, so I'm not I'm always been more into the shows that feature Gundams that have a bit more personality, which is why I think that I was really into G Gundam, and also why I was into Gundam Wing. All of the Gundams in Wing are very colorful and very and and even dark and moody. And I don't know. I think they stand out opposed to series generally, and that's one of the reasons why that series. All right, so we got these little tiny pieces here. You never know. Like most Gundam shows, like they're like, oh yeah, this does this, and you're like, sure, that sure does. Okay. Uh, I'm sure there's an art book somewhere that explains what each piece does and why this piece is better than that piece. I haven't watched Build Fighters much, but they have on various much. Oh yeah, the Build Fighters series. Yeah, I haven't gotten into that. That's kind of like Rockman EXE in a way. It's like taking an established genre but doing the what if kids were in charge of them and it was on the internet or in networked fighting kind of style. Oh, so you might be picking up. I've done my best to isolate just my microphone and not other sounds, but I am at the UCB New York Training Center because I have access to rooms there and decent Wi-Fi for streaming, for uploading content. And there is a improv rehearsal that is very close by. So you might hear cheers, wooing of various degrees throughout this build. I apologize for that. Last time I did one of these live streams, it was earlier in the day, and there were not classes right near me. But unfortunately, we have that today. So that's just what happens. Hopefully, we'll be able to get. We won't hear it as much as the hour progresses. They'll get into more scene work and probably be a bit quieter. But if not, whatever. It's just weird noises happening while I build a Gundam. That's the price you pay. Um, oh, you're hearing my microphone cut in and out, fancy rectangles. Is anyone else hearing that? Is anyone else hearing my microphone as a bit choppy? That's a problem. That would be most likely the fact that I'm using a wireless mic and receiver, um, which is my usual setup here. Um, if anyone else is hearing that, let me know in chat. That would be good to know. Um, Audio here seems to be pretty stable consistently, but if that's an issue, huh? Okay, yeah. Um, I'm sorry if this is choppy. I everything looks good on my end, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep going with it. But I can also, in the future, look into alternative ways of recording audio for these streams using this headset microphone here. Uh, I'm completely hands-free. But if that's for further stream, then that would be great for me to know. Okay, so we're moving along. We're going to finish some shoulder pieces here. We're looking at So always so many pieces, and then they start coming together, and you start recognizing what they look like, and then the builds go way faster. I don't know if I'm going to finish this at this stream. I don't think particularly. Um, I know that things will move a little faster because I will not have a guest today. I thought I was going to have a guest. That was the original plan, but previous commitments prevented him from arriving during this hour. So he will not be joining us. I won't say his name because he'll be a guest on in the future. And then we'll say, hey, remember when you were supposed to do it whatever ago? And he'll go, oh, yeah. And we'll all laugh. It won't be funny, but we'll laugh anyway. All right, so we'll put that on there. Put that on there. And then I guess these can slide. Well, I don't know why it seems weird when I do all that for these gold pieces to just be locked into place. That seems odd. We'll look at it. It's totally possible that I just did this wrong. I'm going to look ahead. No, I didn't do it wrong. I just, Oh, okay. So it can go like that. All right, now I get it. The shoulders pop up. They're meant to pop up. So I have to put these in a way that allow that to do that, which is not hard. Yeah, like that. Okay. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's right. That's part of the show is that his shoulders seem to expand, and you get to all this gold that was kind of hidden from the Gundam appears because he's ready to have his glowing hand, a robot hand, I should say, fly through a guy or destroy a cockpit or something. So we have shoulder pieces. We're working on the arm. I'm going to Sharpie and put an, 2 lines there to let me know that I've done that. So that's done. All right. We're now going to move on to continuing to work on the hands. We're working on some like looking type things. We need D, F, and B, and E pieces. And these are B. Okay, we're doing B, so I'll do that. And we're doing this twice, so I'm going to be taking both pieces out so that we can build them at once. These kinds of Gundam builds often involve, like symmetry. So you can build both wrist guards at the same time, which is very helpful because it really does feel like an accomplishment when you can get these large chunks just done. And we need E9 is going to go into this in a moment, so we'll take E9 out just so that we have it done. And of course, not every build, especially these types of robots, have symmetry. Often there's weapons or one arm is longer than the other, like Gundam Wing. There's one Gundam who has like an extending arm in one version of it, so the symmetry kind of falls flat in this regard. But there's often plenty of these kits that do have symmetry, which is very fun. All right, so then we go over here to D. We're getting some gold pieces in there. Let's see, I need D5, which are these booster-looking type guys. I'm going to try to be very careful with these because they are small, and I worry about that. I always worry about these small pieces, but they came off pretty easily. Yeah, I love building Gundam stuff. I think I've said this before. I got into it in the 90s. I did receive a question on Twitter from someone asking if I've been a builder for long. And I did take a break from doing these types of builds for quite some time. But actually, to be completely honest, I did stop building for a very long time. I didn't build until these kind of things until like the 90s. I did little kits here and there. I remember having a paper airplane book about how to do paper airplane designs, but I didn't build a lot as a kid. I was more of a TV kid and a writing kid. I didn't do a lot of crafts. Um, I think I would have been into it, but I do remember myself as a youth. I was never into the same thing for too long. So that probably is why I didn't do a lot of building when I was younger. But in the mid 90s, started getting into building Gundam model kits, which led to eventually me getting a job at the place that I kept buying things from, Charms Animation and Gifts in Connecticut, which was an import store that sold model kits and wall scrolls and CDs and then fan subs, which are obviously very illegal. Not morally gray. I wouldn't say illegal, but I would say morally gray, which is illegal. But I ended up working there for quite some time. The model kit stuff, especially, I had a lot of fun. I got to build displays for kits, like big kits. They would let me do some of the display work, which was very fun because then it was like building kits for free. Uh, and then, yeah, they sold fan subs, Danny. Oftentimes it was VHS copies. They would go to Chinatown and pick up VHS tapes that were like several episodes from some of the Sand Suburbs. You got to understand, this was the early '90s, and it was hard to get anime. You did a lot of tape trading in the day, and you would do third or fourth generation copies of VHS because you were copying your friends' copies. The first time I saw Akira, it was a very poor, like fifth or sixth generation copy of it. So I lost a lot of the visuals. It was still amazing to watch, but the storytelling was still great, but the art was tough. So I years later was able to see a lot of that same anime again. But yeah, I ended up working for a company that sold fan subs, and they were tapes, and then I had a large tape collection from buying things from them, and then also my own collection from other stores, and then I kept buying that kind of stuff. And now, pretty recently, I had to go through all my tapes to save the stuff that I wanted to save. It's very little. I have very little of my original collection. Most of it I was able to rebuy later with official DVDs or official Blu-rays, or I've just never needed to replace it. The prime element collection is I have a VHS tape that's called Cowboy Bebop Zero, and what that was sorry, I want to make sure I don't do this wrong. I've just done this wrong. I keep redoing this one piece because I'm talking and I'm putting it together wrong. So I'm going to try to pop this out and fix it. Breaking anything. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, so I had Cowboy Bebop Zero, which was a VHS tape that I imported. I bought on eBay that someone had imported from Japan, and it basically consisted of a bunch of cool like clips and demo stuff, like TV commercials. So just a bunch of awesome, rare stuff that wasn't on any of the U.S. releases for Cowboy Bebop. So it was like at the time rare footage, and of course like the internet was still a thing at Cowboy Bebop when it came out, but it wasn't the same thing. So it was like cool stuff, I remember at the time. And then like a few years later, there was a new version of the Blu-ray, or at the time the DVD of Cowboy Bebop, and it had all that footage. So my tape was not as sought after as it had been, but it was still cool to own it at the time. But yeah, so Charms had lots of Gundams and other model kits, mostly Gundams, because that was what was popular in America at the time. So you've got to sell what's popular. So I got into building kits from them. I would buy kits that I had an interest in, and then I would put them together and display them, and then I lost them all in a house fire. Everyone was fine, except for my bedroom we had to gut the whole house because it smelled like smoke, but my house burned, and my bedroom burned, and I lost everything. And I didn't replace a lot of my model kits. I used it to get new stuff and to expand my Transformer collection, which I still have a pretty decent Transformer collection. I went and replaced a lot of that, but I didn't replace a lot of my model kits because I had already built them, and a lot of the fun was building kits. Um, but yeah, that house fire, everyone was okay. We had to live with my uncle for a while they rebuilt the house, and so that was demoralizing. But otherwise, everyone was fine. We just didn't have a house. All right, so we're going to start putting together our shoulders and into our arms, into our hands. So putting that on there. Now I need I1 or I3. Oh man. Okay. All right, chat. Let's make the decision. We're going to have fists or open hands for now, or one fist and one open hand. Uh, I'll let you guys decide here in chat about what hands we're going to put on this thing right now. So I'll wait a moment, and while I wait for you, I'm going to take a sip of water. Yeah, I think we're going to probably put the green ones on a little later. And okay, we'll do one open, one shut. I think that looks good. Feet for hands. I mean, we're going to have feet for feet. So I don't think we're going to do that. But um, we can do one open and one closed right now. So I think we're going to do that. And we'll do that. We are gonna put the green hand. You know what? Let's one fist close. Let's do that. That's fun. All right. So then that's over here, and we need my clippers for that. I mean, I do appreciate Retcon 95, the idea of feet for hands. I never did that with kits. I've never like taken a kit apart and then built it together wrong. I know some people do that. I've never been that guy, but I do know that people have done that style before. But that's not my style. I did that with Lego a lot. I would always work on Lego and then take it apart and build my own Lego. I don't know. I don't know if I have all the. Oh, okay. I do have all the parts for that. Yeah. So I would decide certain Lego pieces were laser guns because I didn't have enough laser guns. So I was like, this is a laser gun, and uh, my cousins who built a lot of Lego as well, they would just put together sets and then keep those sets, do anything with them, and that always seems strange to me. That's definitely where we were not similar because my goal was always, well, what can I do with this? All right, so we got a glowing hand. We're gonna put the glowing hand in there, and then I'm gonna put that arm there. I believe that's correct. And yeah, great. So now it's got like rocket hand attachment on the arm, and these can open up some and show off the gold and pop open. And he's got a glowing hand to because it's a shining Gundam, and that's his like finishing move, as it were. 'Cause it's still a fighting anime, more so than any other anime in this series. G Gundam was a lot about uh, fighting tournament style show. So all right, so we'll put this piece here, and we will put on this piece and put on there, and great. Now we have arms. I'm gonna put those right there so you can see them. Very excited about that. Put those right there. We have arms, and now we're just gonna take a moment to really quickly check here. Check some messages. Great. All right, we're halfway through our hour today, and we've got our arms assembled. I'm very excited about that. I'll put those off to the side now and mark these down as done. Great. We'll go over here. We did some of these leg pages. We did some of these leg pages. We did that already. Okay, so that's done. Did that. We did that. Great. Great. Okay, so now we're going to put some armor on our legs. We put the exterior armor on. Now we're going to work on, because you can see it's skeletal. We've got some skeleton of 2 of our legs. So now we'll start putting some of the more detailed armor onto it. Armor plating, I should say. Great. So we're going to get some armor pieces on. We're going to look at 22 and 23. I know that in my last stream last week, someone in the chat was working on a piece, a tiny little Gundam piece, a super deformed piece, while I was working. I think that's awesome. If anyone's working on anything while they're doing it, please let me know, either through chat or my Twitter, @PatBaer. My average build time, I haven't done master grades in a long time, so I'm not actually sure how many hours we're talking. So I will say our first hour, we got very little done because I hadn't done Gunpla in quite some time, and I hadn't, so I was feeling very rusty. We also ran into an issue where I couldn't find a piece, which will obviously slow you down. And I was still also getting used to the idea of working with chat and working in a Twitch stream. So I think I'm just going to get better as we go. That's my my answer. It's not a great answer, but it is the answer I can give you. Is that as these builds continue, I think they'll speed up. Oh, okay. Bacon Games letting me know. You're also getting some audio crackle. That is most likely due to my headset, and that's really annoying. Okay, so I'm trying not to be quiet while I do this, but here's what's happening right now. Let's go. Let me put this right here. So there's little joints here that move to give it kind of like more believable movement. They're like tendons almost, and so I'm going to have to put armor over that. That will still allow for the movement, which is interesting and also annoying. So I'm doing that, and so I'm trying to do that in a way that I can still chat with all of you, but also find these pieces in the places they're supposed to be. I mean, it's very cool, and it'll give these legs fluid motion in a way that wouldn't necessarily be you wouldn't see if it was just, some of the smaller joints, some of the high grade, I should say. In a lot of high grade builds, you're going to run into pieces like this, and then it'll be a lot harder to do, to kind of put them all together. So now I'm just trying to get this together in a way that is easier. And I feel like once I start doing more of these builds, because as I said, it's been a while, when I start getting more of these builds, this won't be the annoying thing that is right now. Like, I'm literally mad that I'm going to have to do this on the other leg, but it's important to do, so I'm getting it done. I'm going to use my clippers to kind of move a piece in a way that will be less annoying for me. All right, I got one part on. I can put its mirror on, and then it'll all snap together. And great. Okay. All right. So that's kind of cool. So there's like pistons now, almost, in the legs. And that's very cool, but also annoying to make. So we're going to do the same thing with the other leg so that I don't have to think about this part of assembly anymore. It's going to tell me to do it, later because it wants me to fully build the leg and then work on the other leg. But since I already have the other leg built because I skipped ahead, and also because this was really annoying, I'm just going to do it now in the annoying section of our build. So I don't think we're going to finish today. with Shining Gundam. I do have my next kit waiting in the wings, although next week I might actually have a guest bringing projects on. That's always the plan for this show is when I don't have a guest or I don't have a guest who is a builder, then we will work on, then I will just continue to work on assembly of a kit that I'm working on. But if I do have a builder or painter or designer or what have you available, then we will work on their model kits, or not model kits, but something that they're working on. Then we will focus on that. So we might have that next week. I'm hoping that I will, schedule depending. And for those of you that have asked me about a regular schedule, if that's something that I'm going to have, unfortunately the answer right now is no. I can tell you that I will have regular times that I will be doing these things. Not times, days. So like I said, this is a hard, annoying piece of this build that I want to get done, so I don't have to think about it anymore. Thursday is the day. I'm going to be streaming on Thursdays. When on Thursdays is still kind of up in the air. I'm not 100% sure. I'd like to say this time, perhaps. I know some people have been asking for them, but right now I think afternoon probably the best for me. Will guess. So I don't know what time I'm going to be streaming next week. It will be on Thursday. I have plans to do this until I think the 18th. I am unavailable in the evening, early, like maybe 1 p.m. stream, but I might not even be able to do that. That might be too early. Great. So I finished that. Got this. These joints are done. I don't think about that anymore. Put that away. All right. Continue to work on the leg. Some armor to it. So yeah, I that on Twitter. You always look at my YouTube. I will stream. Watch it there. And great. And okay. We're having frustrating. I apologize for that, everybody. So I'm not quite sure why it's happening this week. What I'm going to do is we will take a moment and I'm back. So we'll hopefully I'm using the other microphone I have. It's identical. It's a set of two of these wireless mics, but hopefully this microphone, which is the one I used last week as my microphone for the whole show, so I have more faith in it. That is could be not a fix at all, but I'm hoping that it does help some. So we'll see. Let me know if you hear anything weird throughout. It's totally possible that the other mic, just the receiver is an issue, or the channel it's on is an issue. It could be anything, which is really fun when you are doing a live stream by yourself, to not know why that was a problem and why people couldn't hear you. It's very fun, and by that, I'm being sarcastic. Great, so we're going to continue on leg pieces. All right, a couple of you said it's coming in fine, so that's good. Going to recenter myself. Hopefully I'll look good on the stream. And then we're E4. Great. So I apologize for that audio and the slight break. I should have things like music to play, like while the stream is up before I start, and music to play when I take a break. I should probably have that ready to go. I don't use my laptop for a lot of stuff. It's mostly for the road, so I don't even have music on it. But of course, I would probably also want to put music that is common, you know, able to be that I would be able to use. So I would have to get a library of that ready. But that's not hard, and that's something I probably should do. So I'm going to look into it. Having that kind of stuff, a little bit of music to play at the beginning of the show before the stream starts. Stream wasn't up too long before I was on, but that could always there's always problems that can come up, so it's nice to have that as an option. All right, great. So now we've got some armor here on our legs. Looks cool. All right. Moving along with that, we're going to continue to put some pieces of armor together. We're looking at some more pieces that go together. People have asked the difference between, like, I talk a lot here about the difference between high grade and master grade. This is the master grade kit. And obviously, besides price, what is the difference? And the main difference that a lot of people run into when they're doing things like this is the number of pieces that combine together to become the main piece. So if you are doing a 21, trying to find a 21, 17, 18, 16, 21. Great. If you're trying to do a master grade kit like this, there might be 5 or 6 pieces that combine together to be a part of a leg. Whereas in another kit, a high grade kit, it might be way, way, way less pieces. It might be something like 6 pieces or 7 pieces, or the whole leg themselves, and and you're just snapping the left and right side together, and suddenly you're done. That's certainly not the case here. This is pretty involved, as you've noticed by watching me do it. Okay, great. So we're back here. I found the pieces that I was looking for, and let's see here, D4. Okay, that's great. This is more gold pieces, more pieces that reveal themselves when it's time to go. And it's time for the super move at the end. That's fun. These are all coming together pretty well. Try to get, my goal is to get all of this leg armor done in the next few minutes, 15 minutes or so that we can have some progress, the things that look like progress. That's important to feel like we're getting some things done. Okay, so we'll do that into this piece that looks like that. We're doing some, looks like leg booster rockets, which is fun. So we'll do that. And then F8, which is one of these pieces here. Ooh, that's the last. This is done. I now have every piece off of F8, one of the Fs. I'll have another F when I do the other side of this rocket booster. And then I will be done with that whole section. And that's great. That feels like progress. And then I have to make something with B and something with C. So B6. B6, great. And then C6. Great. It's a little colorful. These are a lot of colors for this piece here, which is cool. I like that. Yeah, so my next build, which may be next week, which may be the following week, if I'm able to book the guest I've been hoping to build, to book, not build, not building a guest. That'll come later. Haha. So if I'm able to book the guest that I'm hoping that I will be able to, then it'll probably be a few weeks before I do more Gunpla, and next week will be more about talking to a person about the things they build. So that's the hope anyway. But if not, if that doesn't happen, then I will continue on this piece and maybe even start the next one. I haven't said what the next one is. I've been waiting. Oh, this is cool. So yeah, this kind of pops out, and suddenly they're booster rockets. But you don't know they're booster rockets when it's just connected. That's cool. Great, so that piece is done. So I'll put a Sharpie there. Did I finish that? And then we will put some final finishing touches on this leg. I need, let's see. Every once in a while I start getting the idea of I know which page is which, and then I'm like, nope, I don't remember. So, okay, A29, great. And, okay, so let's see here. Get our leg again. We're going to put that there. We're going to put that there. And this makes it the leg on the outside side there. And then E8, and then we'll be complete with this leg for now. That's the other side of that. That's E. Okay, E8. Great, right there. I mean, we're not done with this leg. There's still a few more pieces to put on there, but we're getting close to it. Thank you very much, Bacon Games, for letting me for that update on the audio. I appreciate that. Yeah, you all are my eyes and ears in chat because, as I said, I'm a solo crew on this build and this live stream. So if there's anything weird like the audio that we ran into today, please let me know so that I can make adjustments. Because I want it to be a pleasurable audio experience for everyone. I want it to sound good. All right. All right. And let's finish off these leg pieces here. And then E1. E1 is right there. All right. So we're putting some armor on this leg over the skeleton of the leg. Yeah, so if you're building something like a master grade, like I was talking about, you that's the point that I was actually trying to make. You might not actually do much in the way of internal skeleton. You're kind of just building the exterior, and there might be little glimpses of interior, but that's mostly for funsy, not for like structure, which is kind of what you're building when you're doing with master grade. You're building almost the inner structure as well, the outer structure. Great. So that's a leg. Boom. And we've got enough time to kind of do the opposite on the other side and finish off that leg. And I think we're going to finish arms and legs today. It's arm day and leg day here in our builds. We've got about 10 minutes left in this build. I want to thank everybody who's been watching. We're still continuing. As I said, haven't given up yet on this build, so we're still doing that. But I want to thank everybody that has been watching. I really do appreciate it for you to check this out. And feel free to give comments here in the chat or send me a tweet at Pat Baer on Twitter. My YouTube is also at Pat Baer, Patbaer, just like my Twitch stream, keeping everything the same as best I can. I got late on a technology when I didn't get Pat Baer. So if you ever want to follow me on Instagram, it's Pat Baer, ITSPATBAR. It's Pat Baer is my, unfortunately, that is my Instagram account because I was not fast enough to get the account I wanted on there to get Pat Baer on there, and someone else got Pat Baer because I didn't think Instagram was going to be a big deal, and I was wrong. Not that I use my Instagram that much, but it's still a big deal to some people. So I didn't do that. Oh, I also have it's listed. There's some links underneath my here the stream, underneath the stream towards the bottom. There is a Ko-fi link, which no one is ever under obligation to use. That's there just to basically to have it in case someone wanted to make any sort of donation. I'm not asking for them. I'm not demanding them, not begging for them or anything. It is literally just a thing that I have because people said that I should have it. So I have it. I'm not over here being like, I need it so that I can do blank. It would just, if you want to, you can support me at Ko-fi, buy me a coffee, quote unquote, as it goes. But no one is under obligation to do that. I'm not, begging for it or anything. There are a lot of people out there who create and do cool things that are in much more need of your support than I am. But it's there, and if somebody wanted to help, subsidize the builds I'm doing here, more than welcome to. I'm not going to turn that away. I'm not going to turn that down. So that's there. I want to thank you all for joining me. We still got a few more minutes here. If anyone has any questions in the chat, I can read those because I'm a bit on autopilot with this part of the build because I literally just did it, which is the cool part of doing arms and legs, is that once you do it once, the second half is pretty easy. So I'm just putting those together. So if there's anything y'all have questions about that you want to ask me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. We'll go back into D for these pieces here. I know I will need C again. There. Baking Games, you can ask about anything if you'd like. Build is probably better because this is building. This is Build with Baer Workshop, I should say. So if it's about building, that would probably be preferable. But if you have questions about other things I do, or questions in general, you're more than welcome to ask those. Panel lines. So I don't do a lot of painting. I grew up as a house painter. My father ran his own painting company, and so houses, I'm fairly confident I can do a pretty good job. I can paint a wall, and I feel like I'll feel good about that wall when it's done. But when it comes to detail, one of the reasons why I don't think I really focused on creative as much as other people when it comes to building is I never felt like I had a good patience for it. I never had a good hand for painting. So I don't use a lot of marker work to fill in lines or to accent or highlight. So I don't do that. I have a lot of respect for people that do, obviously, but that's not a skill that I possess. And sometimes I wish I did. I wish I was better at it. I wish I was I could do fine detailing. I blame some of it on being left-handed and the American school system not accommodating my difference. But that's mostly joking. I know that it's on me for just not having that skill or not developing that skill. I'm not a painter. I could have been one, but I never did. So yeah, that's a long-winded way to answer that question. Maybe someday I will get into the world of doing that more, and maybe someday on a stream I'll do some markers. I'll borrow some markers. I have some friends that do Gunpla, building Gundam model kits that are more skilled than I am and also care more about the detailing than I do. and so maybe one of them will be able to show me the error of my ways. There are a few people I know who do model kits that I'm eager to have on when their schedules make more sense. So people have said, particularly one Austin Walker. He has been requested numerous times. I hear you. I would love to. I always want to do more things with Austin because he's a great friend of mine and a great, cool dude. So I would love to do stuff with him. Hopefully that is an actual possibility if our schedules ever line up. This kit, great question. Bacon Games in the chat asked if this was these kits you've been sitting on for a while or to get the recently. So the kit I'm working on right now, the Shining Gundam, I have been sitting on for months. I kind of got the bug again a little while ago, but that bug did not necessarily transition into me just getting into Gundam or building again. I bought it and then it sat in a closet for quite some time. It wasn't until I had the shower thought of doing this kind of project, and the shower thought, which was the name Build with Baer Workshop, and then I worked backwards to figure out what is Build with Baer Workshop, what is that show. So once I did that, I immediately thought, well, until I start booking guests to create things, in the meantime, I'll just start building the things I want to build that I've never had the time to do. The projects never came up. So now that I have that time, I can get to building. I now have the creative freedom to kind of build these things. And then the second kit that I bought, I literally just bought on Amazon. It got delivered today because I was very worried that I might finish this kit today, although obviously that's not happening. We're going to finish legs, but we're not near done with this build. But I was worried, what if I finish this? I want to show what we're working on next, but I won't show that until we're done. So those of you that are patiently awaiting the reveal of what the next kit is, you'll just have to wait. But it is a popular Gundam series, I'll say that. It's not one of the weird ones. I'm not doing anything from Gundam X, although some of those Gundams are cool. Someday I might want to do something from Gundam X. I do have a soft spot for that series. I don't think it's that great, but there's a couple Gundams. There's that Gundam that has like a weird backpack attachment that's like a rocket booster thing. It's also giant weapons. I have a soft spot in my heart for that particular kind of silly Gundam. So someday I might do a G Gundam, an X Gundam. Right now I'm just going to finish off these pieces here. Do that. And we'll finish up our legs here in just a moment with a couple snaps. And we will be pretty much done with the legs, which is great to know. It's a bit of it feels like an accomplishment. Anytime I get any major piece done, it feels like I can conquer the world for just a moment. I don't know why this isn't snapping on. And that's a weird thing where you're like, oh, I'm doing something really cool. I'm almost done with this piece. And then it's just like, no, you got to finish this thing. You don't know why this isn't coming together, but it's not. All right, let's take this off and do it first. Okay, so legs like that. Pieces are like that. Let's do that. There. There we go. There was a method that I wasn't seeing. There was a method to the madness, as various math teachers have said over the years. I feel like all math teachers at one point in their life have said method to my madness, and no other instructors of any sort have ever said that. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so with that, we have finished our arm pieces and our leg pieces. We are going to The next time we work on this Gundam, we will start assembling the body and put that together. And that'll actually work pretty fast because you're not doing tandem builds. You're not doing left and right. You're just doing the different components and starting to build that out. So that will move pretty fast. What do we do today? We finished our legs. Stand that up. Oop, I don't want to stand up on its own. We finished our arms. We put the shining clear plastic hand on there and then the fist. We got a lot done. I'm going to switch profiles here and go to that so that I can talk directly to you. Thank you all so much for joining me. Once again, I said I'll be back next Thursday. I don't know the exact time. Follow me on Twitter for that. Thank you for joining me. And send me photos if you were working on something while I did this, if you were putting together a kit, or if I've inspired you to go and pick up something, let me know what that is. Send me a message on Twitter. And if you like the show, tell some people to follow me on Twitch so they know when I'm streaming next. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Why did I say Saturday? It's Thursday. I don't know.